Hello, all my gnome family out there, all the earth elemental energies. I am Abe with MysticGenMara.com, a small town mystic from the middle of Idaho. And today I would like to offer your elemental energy reading for the month of August of 2025. And it's for the element of Earth, obviously. And Earth covers the zodiac signs of Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. If you are interested in any of the decks or books I'm using, they're linked in the description down below. Also, there is a natal chart by Llewellyn. It's not sponsored or anything like that, but it's a really cool product, and it gives you your base 12 houses with all little signs and symbols in it, and then it also gives you a 10 to 20 page description of what all that means. Plus, it gives you an elemental alignment in there, so that's how you can figure out what's your dominant element. But if you are just looking at sun signs, then this is going to be for the Taurus, Virgos, and Capricorns out there. So, to get things started, we're going to go with your I-ching, and I cast the hexagram before we started the video. And Earth, you have number 6, which is the hexagram of conflict. Conflict, confidence accompanied by obstacles. With care, affairs can be made to prosper in their middle course, but the final outcome will be disaster. It is advantageous to visit a great man, but not to cross a great river or sea. So you're going to actually grow from some conflicts this month. It doesn't look like it's going to be super fun, but it's definitely a growth potential. But conflict can be an inner conflict, could be something going on at work, it could be a couple different things. And it says, with care, affairs can be made to prosper in the middle course. This is that middle path. That's that path of balance where you're between beauty and severity. It's, if you look at the Kabbalah, it's not something where if you go too far one way or another, that's where the disaster is going to be bringing in. And it's advantageous to visit a great man. So this is saying, find someone who's a guide, a teacher. It could be a counselor, depending on what you need. But it's definitely making sure that you're doing the right thing. And it says not to cross the great river or sea. Earth, this month of August is not going to be a month where you want to do big projects. This is not a time to do we're going to remodel the house, we're going to start that business. Probably not a good idea this month from the energy that's coming forward. But we'll dive into the individual lines and we'll look at the tarot and see what all else is being stirred up here. So our foundation line, the bottom one down here, the split one, provided that affairs are not pressed through to the end and that as little as possible is said about them, they will end propitiously. So basically, you don't want to get too aggressive in how you move forward this month. This is a month of observation, kind of toning things down a little bit, where if you've been pretty busy, you've been doing things, you've been keeping active, keep doing what you're currently doing, don't add anything extra to it, is what they're saying. And it's really saying, if you happen to get into a disagreement, find the quickest way to just resolve it or get out of that argument. There's not a good way to win this. No one's going to be the outcome winner, is what I'm hearing. So this is definitely a time where you just get to be silent. I'm hearing find a hermitage. Go be a hermit for a minute. That's actually going to work out a little bit better for you, Earth, which is kind of your thing anyway. So your second place line, as conflict cannot be resolved, he beats a hasty retreat. His clan, numbering 300 households, also escapes harm. This is where, if there's not a good outcome to whatever's going on, just walk away from it. It's not worth the conflict. It's not worth the headache. And Earth, this is actually a little bit more of maybe it's time to take some time for yourself. Going out, doing the things, whatever it is, if it's a work situation, maybe it's time to look for that transfer. Maybe it's time to look for that promotion where you can get out of whatever problem is going on. But it's not saying that you have to be aggressive about it. It's just saying pick the higher path. This is not the time to wallow in the mud and the conflict. It's time to maybe get out of that situation or out of those types of energies, because something's coming. Something better is coming. We'll have to keep going here, but I'm feeling that there's this call to a higher path for you. So our third place line, He nourishes himself upon the ancient virtues. Right determination leads to initial trouble followed by good fortune. Were he to seek public office now, he would not be able to attain it. And when they say he, it's old book, take he, she, whatever you're going on there. It's really saying this is where getting back to the core of who you are. What are your values, Earth? Is it hard work, being moral, ethical, showing integrity, living integrity? What are your values? Get back to the basics. Don't worry about what the world sugarcoats it and calls it, well, this is this. No, what are the basics? And that's what they're calling you to. That's what's going to help keep you nourished. That's what's going to help strengthen things. That's where your self-confidence comes in, because, okay, well, that's what they're all saying, but that's not right. I know better than that. That's where you can quietly assert yourself as being like, okay, they're over there doing their chaos. I'm going to go over here and do this. Were he to seek public office now, he would not be able to attain it. This is not a time to go public and be loud and boisterous. Public office, you have to shake a lot of hands, you got to kiss a lot of babies, you got to make a lot of noise. That's not where you're at this month, Earth. They're saying this is a really good time for you to just do the things that are the best for you. Show your integrity, but don't brag about it. They don't need to know, because they're just going to find reasons to say, oh, they're just doing it for clout. Who cares? Let them have their moment over there with their drama. Earth, you're doing the right thing for you, and that's what's important here. So, our fourth place line. Since the conflict cannot be resolved, it is best to retreat and submit to heaven's will. Peaceful determination brings good fortune. When they talk about heaven's will, this is your soul's path. This is where the conflict actually has nothing to do with what you're actually spiritually looking for. That conflict is an outer distraction. And that's where it is best, where do we go? It is best to retreat and submit to heaven's will. Walk away from the conflicts this month, Earth. It is just not worth it. Your soul is calling you to something better, something bigger, and that's where submitting to heaven's will is saying you're tapping into your capital W, the divine will. That's allowing you to see, you know what, maybe that's not the best option. Maybe that's not the best course of action. This is what I've thought I was supposed to do for so long, but all it's done is cause chaos. All it's done has been a conflict. Well, maybe now's the time to look at other options. That's where, when we go back to the general for this, it is advantageous to visit a great man. That's where seeking out someone to maybe look for some guidance is a good idea, or maybe just talk it over with someone that you respect and be like, okay, you went through something similar, how do I deal with this? And that's what they're saying is, you're not alone in this situation. It's best to step away from the chaos part, but realize you have a support system at play, and that's really actually being beneficial to you. So, our fifth place line, which is here, conflict followed by supreme good fortune. What you're dealing with right now is actually going to work out better. You're going to get out of the situations being the problem because you took the advice of someone who is the great man, the great person. It's going to show you what's really important, and it's going to reveal to you what's really important. You already know what's important, Earth. That's the values. That's that relationship with your spouse. That's the home. The foundational aspects of what it means to be human on this planet. You know that that's what's important, but you've been distracted by the chaos, by the conflict. So when you step away from that, that's where the good fortune kicks in. So our capstone here, the top one, if a girdle of honor were bestowed upon him, he would be forced to strip it off thrice within one day. This is where, like it said with the seeking public office, you're not doing this for somebody else. Earth, you are looking to improve your life, your position, your existence, because this is what you want to do. Your soul's calling, submitting to heaven's will, is to become something different, become something better. It doesn't mean that you're not good enough where you're at. It just means look at what's going on around you. Is this really where you want to be? Is there some conflict here that just is unnecessary? But if you were to take a higher path, would your life change? Would things become different? That's where this energy of stepping away seeking advice from someone who's been there, done that, which is going to allow you to step into this higher frequency. Is it going to be an easy journey? The impression I'm getting is there's going to be some challenges along the way. It's not impossible. It's just going to test your resolve a little bit. So make sure that you are in that position of self-confidence, because that's what the conflict is actually going to bring out in you is, actually, I can do this. This is something that is 100% within my capabilities, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it successfully. So you've got a lot of positive coming in. It's just a heads up, if you stay on the course that you're currently on, things might be a little rough for a second. So with that, we'll hop into the cards. I read week by week, so there's about 4 weeks in August, so we'll just do 4 sets. Each week we look at a guide or guardian, a message from source, and then a little clarification from the tarot, just kind of wrap up our weeks there. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video, comment, let me know your thoughts, feelings, and impressions. And if you are watching and you see something different with the card, or you get a different impression, if you're comfortable with that, please drop that in the comments, just for the fact of, it's always interesting to see what other people see, and by doing so we all grow and maybe even be blessed by what's being brought forward, because everyone's going to hear something different. So with that, we'll start off with your first week for Earth, and you have the Source Dragon. Attune to the infinite, be still in the silence, magic happens, be in the moment. Earth, your first guide this week, the Source Dragon, is saying don't worry so much about what other people think. It doesn't matter. Don't worry about this conflict, because that conflict is a distraction. It's here to test if you're ready to move forward. And it could be that in the moment you need the distraction, but it's not going to be something you want to deal with long term. This is a short-term distraction, is what the Source Dragon is bringing up. So in this first week, understand that you're not doing this by yourself. You have support to work through it, to get away from it if necessary, or to overcome it if that's what the path shows. And you're not going to do it through loud, boisterous activity. Be still. Be silent. Focus on the things that are important. The Source Dragon is going to help reveal the stuff that you might have forgotten, or you may have, for some reason, usually work-related, become distracted from. And so that's what they're wanting to say is, when you find stillness, when you find quiet, find your balance. The outside stuff suddenly is like, oh, that's what's causing that. So if I go over here instead, that chaos can stay over there and I don't have to be involved. So that's what they're wanting you to do, is get to that quiet point. Then the rest of it's going to settle down. Your message from Source is the Sword of Light, divine protection, cords being cut, breaking through energy. Earth, this is where you get to really rely on the divine. You don't have to do this on your own. That's where the Sword of Light comes in. You can look to Archangel Michael to help do cord cutting, freeing you from a situation, but this is where you get to step into yourself. The divine's protecting you. This is a great time for some self-exploration, and it starts the first week, because that's where you get into this breakthrough energy where you're like, I've been kind of stuck. I've been not feeling like I've been able to move forward. Earth, now's the time. You can still make the moves, not big ones, because that's not the energy that's coming up this month, but it's time to really start looking at the alternatives. What can you do different? What is going on in your life that the conflict is just not worth it anymore? The juice is not worth the squeeze, as I've heard some people say. So this is where you get to make these choices. You're going to make some choices quietly, maybe you and your partner talking about it, your spouse, and figuring out what direction you want to head, because the direction that you've been going is showing this conflict energy, and this is where you get to make the decision. Do I want to stay here where things just aren't happening, or do I want to look to something different? Again, you're not making big changes right now. You're observing and checking out the options, because the I-ching talks about this is not the time to make the big changes, but this is a time to seek advice. This is a time to fall back on what's important, allowing these other options to step forward. That way, when you come into the next month, September-ish, you might start seeing, oh, there's a lot more doors opening, because you bided out your time. I can't remember the right phrase for that. You waited for the proper time to make the actions. There we go. Your message from the tarot, little clarification here, is number 12, awakening. In traditional tarot, this would be the Hanged Man, so we're getting some definite looking at things in a different way. Major arcana, so this is life lessons. You can probably apply this to every day of the month, honestly. Change the way you're looking at the situation. Embrace your uniqueness. A temporary pause in action. This is not a time for humongous moves. This is a time for reflection. This first week especially, get back into your connection with Source. Get back into your spirituality. Whether it's meditation, whether it's praying and going to church, reading the Psalms, doing the Rosary, whatever your way of connecting to God, Source, Divine is, that's what this week is. It's going to help awaken within you the information, or it could be the clues, the next steps, so that you can move through this conflict that's been popping up for you with a lot more grace and a lot more ease. It's not going to be completely easy. They're not saying that, but they're saying that there's a way to get around this without as much getting in the mud with everything else. So our second week's guide or guardian is the Earth Dragon. Clears your path and the land around you. This energy is really tying into, your sign right here. Stay grounded, be ready to serve. Stuck energy is clearing and you can move forward in life. Earth, this is a reminder that your energy does not move quickly. Earth tends to move pretty slow. When it moves fast, big things happen. Sometimes those are destructive. And what's coming up this month is this is one of those reminders of, yes, things may not be where you want them to be, but Earth, your element doesn't move as quickly as like air does. So take your time, research, plan, connect to God, Source, Divine, talk to your partner, seek out that great person of some form, and allow yourself to learn and grow beyond. Because you're going to make some drastic changes eventually. But right now, the second week is where you really remind yourself of what your elemental energies are. Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, you're good at doing a lot of things, but it's not always as fast as other signs, and that's a good thing for you, because that means you get to think it out and actually make the right decision for the right reason. So, your message from Source is Soul Star Activation, fulfilling soul contracts, remembering who you are. So, Soul Star, crown chakra, this little flat point on top of your head about the size of your fingertip. Causal chakra just behind it. The soul star is 6 to 12 inches above your head is how I see it. Some people say it's much higher than that. But the soul star activation is fulfilling your soul contracts and remembering who you are. That's what Earth Dragon is coming forward to say. Why are you so focused on becoming something else? Earth, you're not going to turn into water. You're not going to turn into fire. You're definitely not turning into air, because that's your polar opposite. But why not embrace who you are in the moment? That's where getting into this now moment, like the Source Dragon talks about, is so important. You're getting into yourself. You're following heaven's path, your higher self. You're connecting in with that soul star, and that's allowing you to actually look at the situation you're in and be like, what am I doing here? This is not where I want to be. And in the second week, you can actually start to see the conflict is how you can walk away from it, so it's not a problem for you anymore. But it's also going to help show you some of your other options, because you're tapping into the whole of who you are, Earth. This is not a simple thing. This is not a flippant, oh, you're going to get better today. You're just going to do all these things. This is saying, reevaluate. What's going right? What's going wrong? How can you fix it? And then, once it's fixed, how can you move on from it? And the Soul Star energy is here to help connect you to God, Source, Divine. They're really wanting to bring Metatron forward. So when you are working in that energy with the Soul Star, because Metatron kind of hangs out up there, that's where this is. And they're saying that this is a time to really tap into that wisdom of ascension. So Metatron helps guide us into our higher frequencies. Metatron is here to help guide us from wherever we're at, and he does not judge where you're at. That's not his thing. He's offering you a hand up. Where do you want to go? Let's move. Again, we're not moving quickly because that's not your energy, but he's offering you some other alternatives, and that could be the great man that you connect into. The history and lore of Metatron is significant. I've even done a video on here about it, so you can check that out. But Metatron is actually here to help support you and elevate you. When you're ready, in the right time, it's not going to be forced. And that's where the soul star energy is coming in, is knowing who you are. And that's where the Earth Dragon is saying, dude, you're not going to be air, you're not going to be fire, you're definitely not water. Why not just be who you are and then allow that to show you the path? So from the tarot, we have the Queen of Winter, strong, patient, self-sufficient, and funny. Let go of people or things that no longer serve. Now is the time to focus on career, unmarried or divorced individuals. If you happen to be single, this is saying that this is a time for you to embrace it. When you're in a relationship, embrace that. So you're there in the connections to support each other. Grow with each other. The Queen of Winter is self-sufficient, and if you're married, that means the two of you can actually handle a lot. If you're single, that means you can handle a lot. And in a lot of ways, what you're doing is you're proving to yourself that you don't need to have someone else take care of you. You can do it. Now, is it nice to have someone take care of you? Yes. And that's the key. The Queen of Winter is not going to have a subservient partner, nor is the Queen of Winter going to take a domineering partner. The Queen of Winter wants an equal partner. You have your skills, I have my skills, we work together, we complete the picture. And that's what they're really wanting you to do, is when you become self-sufficient and you know the chaos and the conflict is over there and you've separated from it, that allows you, Earth, to actually step into this higher frequency of, you know what, I can take care of myself. I can do the things. I have my support system. Why don't I look for a partner who's on the same playing field as me, where we're both looking to improve together? We're on our own journeys, but it's more fun when we're together. So that's one way of looking at this. It's not to say that, oh, well, you have to be better than the other person. The Queen of Winter is not better than them. She wants someone who's equal but different. You have your skills, I have mine. And that's the thing, is we don't have to compare ourselves to the other person. Your skills should complement each other. That's what I'm hearing with the second week. So, our third week, we have the Golden Solar Dragon. Helps you stand in your masculine power, which is interesting because the Queen of Winter ending the second week was Divine Feminine. With wisdom and strength, let your DNA be reprogrammed, light codes are activated, become an inspired leader. You're not doing this through bombastic action. The Solar Dragon is a little more out front than some of the other energies. So if you have Leo in your chart, they're really wanting to bring that forward. If you have Leo, or you have a fire energy specifically somewhere in your chart, or you have fire or Leo as a friend or someone you're looking to, that's where that great man is coming in, or great person is a Leo energy. I keep seeing that. So the Golden Solar Dragon is helping you uplift. Earth, go out in the sun. Especially this third week of August, things are still warm out, it's still nice. Go out in the sun. Close your eyes and look up at the sky. Allow especially this part of your forehead to just get sunlight. Without sunscreen, just go out and let the sun hit it. Doesn't have to be very long. 3 or 4 minutes usually is enough to start feeling that energy. But that's where you start getting connected into that divine masculine. That's where you start getting tapped into that elevated DNA sequencing. It doesn't mean you're going to change everything all in one time. It could, but it's saying this is how it starts. Earth, you're in a period of quiet transition, and the sun is here to help elevate that. Speed it along within a comfortable pace, because you're not being rushed. This is just how things are moving. But it's saying, you know that where you're at is no longer the best option for you. And that's where the conflict has arisen. Sometimes it's internal, sometimes it's external. They're saying right now in this third week, you're wanting to look internal and figure out why do you feel guilt about leaving the situation you're in? And they keep showing me a job or workplace. Why do you feel guilty? They're saying that this is not really as... You're putting more energy and emotion into it than what's really necessary, because you've put in the time. You leaving because the situation has shifted means that you've moved beyond it, so there's not a lot of guilt that needs to be held there. And there's wanting to show really clearly, at least they're showing it to me clearly, that this is where you get to expand. Is this going to be a quick shift? No. but you're going to start to understand, actually this job is not the job I first applied for. This is not the business, the company, whatever it is that you were involved in when you first got into it. And that could have been last month or 6 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it was. It's no longer the same place. Things have shifted, you've shifted, and now it's time to start to examine what else is out there. That's what they're wanting to say. So your message from Source is the Emerald Tablet activation, cosmic ordering, divine alchemy, and conscious manifesting. This is where you get to grow. The Emerald Tablet is as above, so below, as within, so without. There's a massive amount of poetry that goes along with this. And the concept, though, is basic. When you change the inside, the outside has to reflect it. When the outside changes, if you're strong enough in will, you can withstand it, but a lot of times it'll actually affect you internally. The microcosm affects the macro affects the micro, and what the Emerald Tablet is really wanting to bring forward is you're connected to the situation because it's where you used to be. That mindset was there. The mindset has shifted. So now you get to make the outside world match the inner. That's where this strength of character comes in, that self-confidence, because you're going through this conflict and it's helping remind you that you're the reason that you've come as far as you have. Your partner's been there to support you, God Source Divine is with you, but now you get to pick a different path. Now you get to choose. The conflict is helping you see more clearly. And that sounds really ridiculous. It's not, feathers and fluff, because through conflict you realize that doesn't work, but this does. So then you can remove the conflict, the problem, and see more clearly as to what really is going forward. So your message from the tarot is number 2, High Priestess, Major Arcana energy. Trust your intuition, reflection before action, insight that comes through meditation. Again, this month you're looking inside, this third week especially. The High Priest is here to help you understand that you have good luck. Everything is moving in the right direction, but sometimes you have to look within. Sometimes you have to pause so that you can actually see it clearly. And it's interesting because you have the Divine Masculine and you have the voice of the goddess. She's not the goddess, but she's the voice of the goddess. So you're working with a balanced energy here. You've got Divine Masculine coming in, you have the voice of the goddess coming forward as well. And if you don't believe in that, you can totally go with God Source Divine, but you're coming in a balanced state. This third week is reminding you of the balance. Also, the Emerald Tablet is saying the balance from the world within has to match the world without. If you're changing the inner world, the outer world is going to shift. Sometimes that outer world shifting is where the conflict arises, because Earth change for you is not the easiest. It's not something you like. I mean, obviously we all do it because that's how we grow here, but you're a little bit slower in the shifting part. You know what has to happen. You plan ahead and you do your thing, but the element of Earth is not about rapid movement. When things move rapidly with Earth, big things happen really quick and can cause a lot of chaos. That's where you're at. You're in that tipping point. The conflict is showing you it's about to happen. Just wait, because when it happens, it's going to do it the right way. But it's happening, and this is why, is that shift is occurring, because you've done the inner work, Earth, and now the outer world around you, Emerald Tablet as above, so below, has to shift for you. You've done the work. The conflict arises because the world outside is like, I don't want to, and there may be a conscious little grab hold as well, saying, but this is familiar, but it's no longer where you're at. So, your fourth week, still going with the alchemy theme here. Gold and silver violet flame dragon. Transmute the old around you with wisdom and grace. It's time for transmutation, magic, and healing. Offer services under grace. Offering service could be praying for a situation, praying for someone else, sending energy into Mother Gaia, sending energy even back to God Source Divine, because by doing that you actually open a circuit, and that allows you to grow into a different way. But when you look at the background of this dragon and the mirror underneath, those are symbols of those are alchemical symbols. We won't get into all that right now, but we are looking at this energy of change. It's time for Earth to shift. It is time to go from coal to a diamond. I mean, you might already be well on the way. Or if you look at it from the alchemical standpoint, lead into gold, this is saying it is time for the shift to occur. You've done the inner work, the outer world is calling you to change, and that's the conflict between the inner and outer world. Is it going to work out in the end? Yes. Is it going to be loud and boisterous from you? No. The outer world is going to make noise and chaos because it doesn't like to change. Well, neither do you. But you've already done the inner work, Earth. So the outer world has to reflect it, and that's what's going on. Your conflict arises not from, they're trying to get me. You've changed for the good. But now the outside world has to match. And that's where sometimes you have to be shaken out of your comfort zone, which allows you to discover the better option. And that's where we're headed with this reading this month, is the conflict is coming up because it's time for you to move. Maybe physically, maybe just a job, could be a promotion, could be a classroom activity. You could be growing through education. But there's some changes that are coming, and it's stuff that you've prepared for internally, your soul has, and now the outside world is going to catch up. Your message from Source is Shambhala initiation, retreating to recharge, trust the process, Dharma. This is what was meant to be. This is where things are supposed to happen. This is the initiation into that higher self. This is where you become aware that you have never actually walked the path completely alone. You've had a partner if you're in a relationship. You've had God, Source, Divine. You have your angels, your guardians. You've also had multiple aspects of yourself: mind, body, spirit, higher self, conscious self, shadow, or unconscious, depending on how you look at that. You've never done this alone, but now by the end of August, you're starting to understand how everything is actually conspired. You've been doing the inner work, doing the inner changes, not thinking it's going to affect the outside world, and then it did. And that's where the conflict arises. But the conflict is actually showing your self-confidence, because you can master this. You can work through this without any issue. And that's where you're going to step into the grace and dignity and beauty as things move forward here. So you got two cards. They literally jumped out of the deck. That was my I was trying not to drop them. We have number 20, Major Arcana, with renewal. Review the past and the present so you can plan a bright new future, understanding your life purpose, releasing judgment of yourself and others. Powerful message. Your second one is the Eight of Autumn, which this tends to align more closely with Earth energy, is the Autumn cards. Do more research before proceeding. Education in the form of seminars, going back to school or apprenticeship, excellent craftsmanship, long-term projects. This is a time of your shifting. Renewal is calling you to look at things that happened in the past, how far you've come, where you're headed, what trajectory are you on, and that gives you a lot of knowledge about how to proceed further. The Eight of Autumn is saying, don't just jump into something because it opens the door. You have a lot of doors coming up here is what I'm seeing, and this is actually an option time for you. Doing the research, making the plans, looking back, seeing what you've done, where your skill sets are, what's been opened up, looking into the moment now. What's the inner work you've been doing? What directions are showing up? Following that intuition, because then you can make the healthy choice with the Eight of Autumn to move forward correctly in the right direction for your soul's journey. I can't tell you what your soul's journey is. This is a general reading, but you will. And it could come from just asking, what direction is your soul's journey pointing to? What's the first thought? Write it down. Because that is where you can look back to and be like, actually, that does kind of where I was thinking about anyway. But when I hear soul's journey, that's the image that comes in. The universe has this amazing way of conspiring in your favor, and that's what's coming forward here. So yes, there is a little bit of conflict, but as we went through the journey of the month, it's come into realization that the conflict is because you've shifted, Earth. You've changed within yourself. The inner world is now starting to affect the outside world. It's infecting it with this change, and the outside world is having a little bit of an issue with that. But by the end of the month, you're going to see the outcome of where you're headed next. Why the conflict had to happen, because there's something better coming for you. So with that, we will let you go. Have a great rest of your month. If you feel comfortable, let me know your thoughts, feelings, and impressions down below in the comments section, and I will see you in the next video.